Hi, welcome to Sugar Free. This is a special one-off reading. I'm just going to shut my door. Hold on. Special one-off reading for people dealing with narcissism. Okay. It's not for narcissists. It's the last thing a narcissist, most narcissists know they are, is a narcissist. Okay. But for those of you who think you might be dealing with someone or a collective that shows strong features of narcissism, this is a tarot reading for you. So, yeah, I'm Sugar Free. I'm a Buddhist. I've been working with the tarot for a long time. Had the channel up for a little while and I've had extended periods away from it, so it hasn't really grown very much, but I'm back at the moment. So I'm using two decks here. I've got the major arcana of the ancient Italian tarot, beautiful deck, and here I've got the minor arcana of the Rider-Waite tarot split into its suits. So what I'm going to do is pull three from the major arcana and then clarify each of those three major arcana cards with one from each suit of the minor arcana. That's the reading style I have developed over the years. So, yeah, maybe you'll like it. Let's have a look. Well, 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 that is my card of narcissism, the High Priestess in the reverse. Okay. We have the World in the reverse, and we have the Hierophant. Goodness me. Okay. Got the day off from work today, and I just thought, I quite fancied doing this little reading, and looks like that was possibly a fruitful little intuition. So this first position is the immediate energetic environment. Now, I said, goodness me, that is my card of narcissism. And it is. For me, we've got the High Priestess here. The knowing, the deep knowing, the deep and compassionate knowing. It's on its head. So when a card is in the reverse, it can mean a variety of things. It can mean the opposite of the qualities depicted in the card. It can mean the absence of the qualities depicted in the card. But I think in this case, it's a kind of halfway house, because there is a kind of knowingness to narcissism. And there are lots of clues in that respect. One of the principal ones being that we experience people we think are narcissistic, or who we think are full-on narcissists. We experience them behaving in different ways when they are in different settings, and they put on different masks, and they seem to know, because they do seem to prevail, okay, these people, they seem to know which mask to wear in which setting. And, you know, if you're in a one-to-one setup, be that romantic, be that close work colleague, be that a close friend or family member, if you're up close one-to-one with a narcissist, you will have noticed how they modify their behavior when it's not just you there. Essentially, when there are other people present, they abuse you less, or they full-on don't abuse you. They might even praise you and treat you really nicely in front of other people. And by that point, you might be so addled with the trauma of it all that you're just grateful to have like a bit of time off from being treated like shit, basically. And you like just lap up whatever little breadcrumbs, I believe they're called, of good treatment you can get. So there is a kind of knowingness with narcissism. So that's what we're coming into the reading with. As I say, this first position, the immediate energetic environment. This second position is like a sort of portal. It's like a kind of, I don't want to say magical, but a kind of paranormal kind of viewpoint of the situation. Traditionally, this second position is called the veil. So it's what we don't see or what is blocking our vision. And here we've got the world in reverse. There's a sense here of nothing ever changing. Okay. I will clarify. I told you I'm going to clarify, but that's all I've got to say about that for the time being. This third position is like the bigger picture, the wider energetic setup or environment or situation. When we've moved from this personal perspective via this kind of portal here to the big picture energy. And the big picture energy is the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is the kind of the order of the spiritual and moral stuff of our lives. It's the ordering of it. The Hierophant is accepted publicly, and it is the first card that has other people in it. So this is about, there's a kind of performative quality to this. The Hierophant is accepted by the acolytes and society in general as having a kind of special relationship with the divine, and a special relationship that kind of authorizes the Hierophant to basically judge on matters of spiritual and moral authority. So my first view of this is that narcissism is what it is. It's absolutely real. It's absolutely prevalent. Everything feels kind of stuck and blocked. This is like a mouse on a wheel just going round and round and round. Bigger picture, there is moral and spiritual sort of justice and structure and hierarchy. You know, certain behaviors are better than others. And one thing that a narcissist will always do is try and relativize things. You know, if you say to a narcissist, why did you do that nasty thing? They'll say something like, well, you did that thing in 1974, or have you conveniently forgotten about that? Okay. That ain't going to wash here with the Hierophant. That's just not going to wash. Let's start clarifying. I'm going to come to this world in reverse here first, because I feel this is the most kind of urgent energy. This is, yep, narcissism exists. This is, I feel completely stuck. So let's dive straight in here and see what the minor arcana has to say. Okay, Pentacles. Oh, man. Yeah, completely stuck and out in the cold. Five of Pentacles. Oh, you see, this is how you can end up feeling when you've had a belly full of this. And make no mistake, people who haven't been trained to accept this crap don't accept this crap. I mean, they might, you know, if they're particularly charmed by a narcissist, and of course a narcissist is never going to announce that they're a narcissist, most of them don't know. All right, they don't know. And I mean, there are a few like diagnosed narcissists out there. The most famous one here on YouTube is Sam Vaknin, who's been broadcasting on it for flipping ages. But, you know, if you've had a belly full of this crap, you will feel like this. You will feel like stuck out in the cold. You will feel impoverished in your spirit. There will be an absence of optimism and an absence of the sense of being worth something. All right, that's what these people do to us. In the Five of Pentacles here, we have these two very deserving figures. I mean, one of them's injured. We've got injury, we've got poverty, we've got hunger, we've got exposure from the cold. It's not a good place to be, but they are walking past that warmth. It's there for them, but for some reason, they're not going in for hot soup and rolls. Why is that? Why don't they go in? They don't go in because it doesn't seem natural. to them. They have been trained and educated to stay out in the cold. And that is what a narcissist will do to you. Oof. But, you know, it's only a viewpoint. It's only a viewpoint. I mean, there's nothing that can miraculously turn like this. I think it's a lady here, this lady into a queen. Sure. But her sense of not being deserving of this warmth and this succor and this comfort in here, that is purely her sense. It's a learned behavior. This is learned helplessness, learned undeservingness. It reminds me of Jude Fawley in Thomas Hardy's Jude the Obscure, when he cries out after years and years of trying to change his life. And he says, I am an outsider to the end of my days. And that's what we've got here. But it's a viewpoint. And that's all it is a viewpoint. It's a perspective. And it's drilled in by this, by narcissism. Because what the narcissist wants is for you to stick around. They want you to stick around so that they can use you as a lightning rod for their fucking misery. That's what they want. And the last thing they want is you going inside somewhere warm, comfortable with nice people. Okay, they don't want you engaging with this. You know, you go in this church on the right day at the right time, you might meet the Pope. Okay, I'm not Christian. I told you I'm a Buddhist. But the last thing a narcissist wants is for you to get some comfort somewhere. They want to be the only one giving you any sort of emotional grub, food, anything. They want to be number one. Oh, it's so terrible, man. So yeah, there's a like a long educative process here to convince you that you are not worth happiness. It's a lie. It's an absolute barefaced bloody lie. Nine of Wands. Now, I was going to say, yeah, you know, it makes you feel really defensive, but this is good in a way. I'm seeing this in a really good way here, because this fence needs to be built against this. It needs to be built. But what I'm seeing today in this card, in this reading, is real equivocation and sort of self-doubt on the part of this person here as to whether they actually have the right to build this fence. And if they put that last wand in that fence, the boundary will be complete. Do they have the right? Do they have the guts? Do they have the chutzpah and the wherewithal and the courage to actually build that necessary barrier against that? Because I tell you what, I mean, going no contact with a narcissist, especially if it's a family member, especially if it's a parent. And I mean, in this case, you know, we're looking at a mother figure here. You know, it takes an awful lot of courage to actually draw a line. Best drawn quietly, okay? Because they're so busy in their like la-la land, their fantasy, their narcissistic la-la land, they might not even notice for a little while. And then they come back and they try and like get you, and they come up against this fence. And when that happens, that's when you really, really need the courage of your convictions to not just crumble and let them back in. Because, you know, if you do not do what a narcissist wants, by God, you know, there will be tantrums, there will be sort of like, you know, you're killing me kind of thing. And, you know, it's very, very difficult to separate yourself from a sense of responsibility for this person. Narcissists are essentially children. They are undeveloped children. They're immature individuals to whom something awful happened when they were at crucial stages of their childhood, and they were not able to mature into sort of reasonable and negotiable adults. There's no flexibility about them. It is their way or the highway. And, you know, they've developed this thing of wearing a series of masks, You know, they know that in this setting they have to behave like this, and in that setting they have to behave like that, and they just change the masks to suit the setting to cover up that initial trauma experience. And you know, they drag everyone else into it as well. So yeah, do you have the courage? It takes courage to build this fence. And as I say, once this final wand is put between this one and this one, the fence is complete. So there's clearly some thought here about putting something, a boundary between you and this. Let's keep going. Oh, yeah, there's fear that if you put this boundary up, that you're going to have to account for it. You're going to have to explain it. And that when you try and explain it, you're just going to end up sucked back in. I mean, you know, the very fact that you've clicked on this reading shows there's sort of something up in your sense of what's going on in this connection, whatever it is. And, you know, perhaps a burgeoning sense that this being stuck out in the cold and being an outsider and being undeserving of happiness is perhaps not true, basically. And I mean, if you've been brought up by a narcissist or by a highly narcissistic parent, or, you know, God forbid, two highly narcissistic parents, you know, you will feel undeserving. You will feel guilty when things go well. You will sabotage yourself and your prospects. You will do that. But there will also be underneath a sense of that all being somehow completely out of whack. And that's why the world is here in reverse. Every aspect of this feels wrong and feels like a sort of a dead end. There's a sort of deathliness to it. So if you put up this boundary in order to sort of get yourself into a safer place, a warmer place, a more comfortable place, if you put up this boundary, are you going to be able to account for it? And I mean, I know we're only partway through the reading, but I would say, no, you are not obliged to account for it. They don't. Why should you? You don't have to explain anything to anybody, but there's a fear there. I see that if you know, you will be invited to explain why you've put this boundary up. And if you go into that interaction, you're just going to end up back on this mouse on the wheel, and you'll be sucked back in. Let's see about the cups. Nine of Cups is a very complex card. So I'm going to wait until I've got the other cups out in these other columns here to sort of see what I make of this. That said, what I'm getting off this initially is that your emotional well-being in this setting, dear viewer, dear listener, emotional well-being resides in the self. Okay, and that doesn't mean that you become a narcissist who just thinks about how to make things, or just acts in a kind of reptilian fashion, in an unthinking, as a set of sort of subconscious impulses to try to sort of feather their existential nest. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the understanding that if you're okay, it will be okay. And that if you're not okay, no matter how much like wealth, safety, you know, articulation, and no matter how much of all that you've got, like intelligence, clarity of thought, the ability to negotiate effectively, all of that, it doesn't matter how much of it, if this is not right, you are basically out in the cold. That's what I'm getting off that initially, but let's push on. I'm going to save this one for last. So let's come over to the High Priestess in the reverse now. Okay, 10 of Pentacles, right? This matter of narcissism, like I said earlier on, you know, if you didn't have some narcissism kind of shoved down your throat early in your life, you are much less likely to get sucked into a relationship with a narcissist when you're older. You know, people who basically trained themselves, young children who have had to train themselves to accommodate a capricious and frightening parent, learn how to modify everything they say and everything they do. And what happens if you learn that as a child, if you like twist yourself up into those like contorted positions as a child, simply in order to be safe? Because you know, you can't, as a child, you can't grab your keys and your phone and just go to a hotel and get the hell out. You are stuck. So you have to learn these like coping strategies of ways to make sure that the narcissistic parent is less likely to attack you, essentially. And learning those ways permeates as we grow. This is what I'm getting to. There's a long preamble. Permeates into this 10 of Pentacles energy, where, you know, this is about work, property, your position, your standing in society, in the public view, you know, what you do for your career, what your kind of badge, your sort of worldly badge is. This is success, the 10 of Pentacles, on sort of every front to do with worldly activities. And narcissism, if you've been on the receiving end of it from an early age, and as I said, you know, if you hadn't been, you know, people who are brought up by kind of kind, sensible, mature parents, you know, goodness me, how lucky. You know, they might be fascinated by somebody with narcissistic tendencies for a while, but they're soon going to kind of realize that basically it's a singularity, it's a black hole, and they're going to move on. They're going to move on. And in my experience, that is what happens with like heavily narcissistic people. You know, new people meet them and find them utterly compelling, really charismatic, really interesting, really lovely, the most amazing person they've ever met. And then somewhere along the line, there's a shift. And I think what it is that somewhere along the line, people who have struck up a friendship or perhaps even got a bit of relationship with a heavily narcissistic person begin to realize that they have become part of the narcissist's internal weather system, and that they are as likely to be smiled at as they are scowled at. You know, and you just never know. And they you know, people don't like that, and they will basically quietly withdraw from that connection with the heavily narcissistic person. But this shows, there's this 10 of Pentacles here, shows the extent of the effect of an early kind of life education with a heavily narcissistic parent. It feeds into everything. It feeds into your work prospects, your education, how well you do at these things, what sort of results you get. It feeds into your earning power. It feeds into your everything. It affects every aspect of worldly life. Six of Wands. Well, I wasn't expecting that. This is kind of solar plexus energy, in terms of how we are able or not able to go out into the world and kind of conquer challenges, rise to challenges, and prevail and do well and win. Okay, this is the winning card. I'm going to carry on with that. I mean, definitely one's capacity to do this is compromised. One's capacity to enjoy engaging with this energy is compromised when one is brought up by a heavily narcissistic parent. You know, it means that when you go out and you win, basically you are made to feel like a little shit. You know, you might have a narcissistic parent saying to you turn up with a set of really good exam results, and the response you get, you're expecting to be congratulated and be given, you know, something nice for dinner. But what you get is kind of raised eyebrows and, oh, so you think you're clever, do you? Okay. And it really, really, really does affect your ability and your whole motivation to go out and do shit well. It really does, because, you know, that early training means that, you know, there's no point in doing well, because nobody's ever going to be pleased with you or pleased for you or proud of you, unless, of course, they're in a setting where showing off to other people about how well you've done suits them. And at that point, suddenly you'll get praised in a public setting. So it kind of really saps your motivation to succeed, to win at anything. And of course, what we're all really attempting to win at is to you know, prevail over our own limitations. And we're all born with those, narcissistic or not. So it saps your motivation, and it also makes you feel like a bit of a shit. Really, it makes you feel bad about doing well. So pernicious. Wow, 5 of Swords. Yeah, well, yes, this is what I was saying about you know, the narcissist sort of changing their behavior in terms of, in the context of what sort of setting they're in, and how they will abuse you in private and then heap praise upon you in public, or just be nice to you, or just ignore you, or, you know, not abuse you basically when there are other people watching. There's a performative thing going on here about this person wanting to be seen as some sort of victorious. This is stealing victory from somebody else. Now, oops, we see here that a battle has been waged. We've got 2 people in the background who are absolutely exhausted, and there are weapons, you know, scattered over the territory. But he is coming along and pretending, by gathering up, when they're exhausted and demoralized, gathering up the swords and saying, yeah, I was there. I dealt the fatal blow on the enemy army's leader. It was me. And once that kind of falsehood, that false victory is broadcast to a certain extent around the place, people won't want to listen to this, because this is subtle. What's happened to these people? It's subtle, it's complex, it's sad. They've done things they're ashamed of in battle, but they had to be done because it was a battle. You know, this is like the gray area. This is the black and white area. I'm the winner. I led the army to victory. This is perhaps the narcissist basically claiming your victories as their own. And that is definitely what they do. One narcissist I know, I remember saying that when somebody else was praising one of their children, and the narcissist said, well, of course they've done well, they're mine. That's what that is. That's what that is. It's all about me. It's all about me. I'm brave. I'm brilliant. I'm bestowed with all these wonderful qualities. And that's why, you know, that's why the battle was won. Whereas in reality, the battle was won by these poor, bedraggled figures here who actually got out and did what was necessary, and will take years to get over it. False victory. Wow. And I was going to say the Prince of Cups. How interesting. There isn't even a prince suit. The Knight of Cups. I was a little bit nonplussed by the Knight of Cups. I don't know what that says about me. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm seeing for the Knight of Cups in this column, in this reading on this topic, is a kind of unending appetite on the part of the narcissist to go out and make new emotional connections and new emotional conquests. You know, other people for a narcissist, other people are simply fodder. They're just food to try to fill the void in the narcissist's kind of spiritual and emotional gut. And, you know, once one thing's completed, they're back on the horse, back out there to some new conquest, some new land, some new territory, some new project, some new people. So, and they go in and they wow people, but they got no sticking power. There's no sticking power here. That's what I'm getting off this Knight of Cups today. It's back on the horse. Here's my cup. I'm going to go back out there and find some other twit to suck into my orbit because I'm hungry and basically there's nothing actually inside me. I can't sustain myself. And that's the tragedy with narcissists. They can't sustain themselves. They have to get the supply from other people. And the supply is emotional. It's just emotion. It doesn't even matter if it's negative. They don't care. They're quite like they'll chomp on that forever if you let them. Endless new, conquests, and that's how they see it. You know, and if a narcissist meets a new person or a new group of people and they've managed to sort of like do the act of sort of, as I say, being capable, being amazing, being charismatic, being this, that, and the other, you know, and they'll come away from that punching the air. It's like, yeah, I got them. It worked. Ugh, that's what I'm getting off that. Right, let's see what the Pope has got to say. Page of Pentacles. There's something young and fresh about this. Page of Wands. There's something young and fresh about that as well. What I'm getting off this straight away is that what the Hierophant is telling us here is that simple childlike sense of fairness and unfairness, and perhaps even reality and fakery is the best way to guard against this and against the kind of poverty of spirit that comes from these people. You know, basically, if something is real and true and good, it does not need a shitload of explanation. And it certainly doesn't need explanations that keep changing all the time. I mean, you know, I remember one narcissist I knew who was sort of, there'd be like 100 different stories. And then you go, but what about that? That contradicts with that. And they go, oh, yeah, well, that was because so-and-so did something or another. And I really didn't feel I had any option other than to blah, 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 blah. The story's always changing. But this young, fresh simplicity of perception is where it's at in protecting yourself from a narcissist. You know, if there's something a narcissist has done and said that, or something that has been done and said by someone to you, done and or said, and on the face of it, it's like, man, that's really not good what they did or said there. That's really, really not good. I don't like that. That don't sit well. And then you think, oh, well, maybe I should sort of like try and discuss it with them. You go back and you come out 2 hours later with your head spinning with a shitload of word salad. You were initially correct. So we have a kind of directive here from the Hierophant. I mean, this is the spiritual rules. These are the moral rules. I'm so glad he was here in the upright. And we have a reminder here from the Hierophant that the first impression we have in a situation like this is certainly worth taking note of. I'll put it that way. Okay. 10 of Swords. Right. Well, look, if if you're in a situation where you're considering, you've become aware that you feel spiritually and kind of, what, in every way impoverished in this connection, and you're thinking about putting a barrier between you and this person, and you've got some nervousness about doing that because you're wondering how you would handle yourself if it came to accounting for this barrier. And you know that deep down it is your job to make yourself okay emotionally. If that's going on for you, even subconsciously, you know, sometimes this second column can be what's going on subconsciously. Look back at all this. Look at the losses. Look at the extent of the damage done. How the multiplicity of areas of your life in terms of the material and the physical that have been kind of contaminated with this. Look at how compromised your ambition has become, and how bad it makes you feel when things go well. You know, it is possible to be triggered by your own success, you know, but only if you suck this stuff in. And how, you know, this other person like goes around claiming like credit for other people's like good stuff and hard work, and kind of making it look so bloody simple. They make it look so simple. It's all black and white, nothing going on in the grey area where, you know, there's give and take and there's compromise and there's negotiation between people. No. They wonder what it's because it's just like fantasy. It's confabulation. You get a lot of that from narcissists, confabulation, just making shit up. And then, you know, if their spidey senses, if they're like narc reptilian brain senses that there's nothing that further that they can like suck out of you, they just go back off and like find someone else. If this is all happening to you, no wonder you feel like this. 10 of Swords, just like fuck it, like game over. I mean, what I was going to say here, there was something here about negotiating, and that brought me back to the Queen of Swords, because there's a kind of negotiatory quality about the Queen of Swords here. I mean, the King of Swords, where would that be? Hold on a sec. Let me show you the King of Swords and the difference. I mean, obviously one's a queen, one's king. There he is, right at the bottom of the deck. There's the King of Swords. There's no negotiation going on there, right? His word is final. But here with the Queen, there's still the possibility of, negotiating something, compromising something, maybe in a good way. And sort of, discussion, but like high level, no fucking around discussion. I mean, you'll get plenty of fucking around with a narcissist because, you know, they just change the story over and over and over again. But here, you know, there's no room for negotiation left. It's just like, look, I know what this is. I'm done with it. Basta così. This is game over. I'm out. And I mean, you know, this is a sort of sorry figure here, lying with all these swords in the back. But what it means is that no further discussion is required here. And no further kind of consideration and negotiation. You can't negotiate with a narcissist. It's like trying to negotiate with a fucking crocodile. Yeah, it's only going to go one way. Yeah, what's the point? And certainly this, in the context of this young, fresh, I know this is a pentacle and that's what I'm looking at. And I know it is. And, you know, you can like confabulate all you want and try and manipulate me all you want. I know I'm looking at a pentacle. I know I'm looking at a wand. I know what these things are. And I trust my gut. I trust my mind. I trust my intuition. I trust my judgment. And I do not need to explain anything to anybody. We're back there in that territory. Like I said to you about the Queen of Swords here, if there's hesitancy about building this barrier here, because of how you might have to sort of explain yourself, you don't have to. You don't have to, mate. It's over. It's over. It's very peaceful. It's gruesome, but it's peaceful. And having gone through a process myself where I did this, because I trusted this in the end. And I did this because I was sick of feeling like this, all of this. I didn't, or I did. Oh, what was that? I did, sorry about that. I did briefly explain, but only out of kindness. And I didn't give any kind of opportunity for any further discussion about it. I simply stated my position in very neutral and polite terms. And it worked. It worked. You know, if the moment you start apologizing yourself for yourself, or asking if it's okay for you to feel the way you do, you're fucked. All right. When it comes to this, when it comes to narcissism, no discussion. Boundaries. No discussion. And like I said, when I went through that, God, you know, I was exhausted for a good time afterwards, because it was a huge series of like pennies dropping here that we see here in the Page of Pentacles and the Page of Wands. But you know, life got a lot better after that. I tell you, basta così, no negotiation, no discussion. I do not have to explain myself to you. And if you demand that I do, then you know, knock yourself out. Three of Cups. The key to surviving and recovering from narcissism, or one of the keys to it, is knowing for absolute bloody sure that no one person's feelings, outcomes, thoughts, wishes, or demands are any more or less valuable or important or worthy of fulfillment than anybody else's. We are all equal under the sun. And that's what I'm getting off the Three of Cups there. And, you know, in a sense, the poor narcissist, the poor, benighted, appalling narcissist, honestly feels like they're more important than other people. They really, really do. And it's tragic. It's absolutely tragic to sort of watch them getting it so wrong over and over and over again. And there's nothing you can do. You certainly can't help them. You definitely can't help them. And I mean, I've seen some content here on YouTube from sort of mental health professionals talking about narcissism, and, you know, therapists working with diagnosed. And I was like, yeah, right. Yeah, you know, any narcissist, a true narcissist who is diagnosed with narcissism, right, and agrees to go into therapy, they're just laughing at the therapist. They're laughing at them. It's just more beautiful, yummy supply for them. It's just not going to make a dent in them. You cannot cure narcissists because the damage was done to them too young. And if you try to explain this to a narcissist, right, if you try to like explain here in the Queen of Swords that they're no more important than you, you know, why should you bend yourself into a fucking pretzel to make them happy when it's really hurting you? They just will not understand what you're saying. They honestly won't understand what they're saying. But it's so sad because they see other people engaging like this. Like in the Three of Cups here, three equal entities, all endowed with the same offer and really enjoying being together and sort of just rejoicing in connection. It's equality. As I said, all equal under the sun. And narcissists see people doing that And I think two main things happen to narcissists when they see people doing that. They are jealous and they feel sorry for themselves because they know really that they can't do that. But then they compensate for that by telling themselves that these people are faking it. They're not really enjoying themselves, that each one of them secretly feels like the narcissist does. Because the narcissist, as I say, doesn't know that they're a narcissist. And they think everybody's like this. They honestly can't conceive of how it could be possible to let your hair down, get off your fucking high horse right here in the Knight of Cups, and just come down to earth and have the sun shine on you like it's shining on like the beggar standing next to you and the king on the other side of you. This is the all our farts smell card, right, in this reading. And that's the key to it. That is the key to it. So there you go. Some little, just a little look at matters surrounding narcissism. I mean, if you're considering building a fence, and I mean, this card here, this 9 of Wands, which today in this position is the 9 of Wands, this is the central card of readings constructed in this manner, because we've got 2 above, 2 below, 1 this side and 1 this side. It's the middle of it all. If you are considering or feeling like it's time for you to do this, one of the key motivators for it can be to ask yourself in very simple terms, is the person you are considering shutting out with this, I mean, this is like no contact, basically, with this fence, with this barrier, with this boundary, is that person more or less valuable than you or anybody else? Okay, ask yourself that question. And the Hierophant and the youthful, unimpeded, uninterpreted view of things will tell you everything you need to know. Right, I'm going to leave that there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.